What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering. If all is going well, I am currently pacing around in an airport, hopefully on the way home finally, to sleep in my own bed and with my kitties and my dog and I guess my wife. Now, Stephen Lumpkin. Never really heard of the guy before. I feel like I've come across him before. All I know is that I was pre-blocked, and he has worked on Horizon Zero Dawn, and he is a senior game designer at Guerrilla and also a Twitch partner. Some interesting behavior from Mr. Lumpkin for a Twitch partner, seeing as though that type of thing is generally frowned upon. So I'm going to start where we are now. And look, it's Friday, I think. I'll be working on Saturday video for my normal setup. I hope you have a great weekend, and I hope that we're back to normal quality, and that this week I really appreciate all the kind words this week. It's been a little depressing being locked in a hotel thousands of miles from home, and you guys have made it a lot easier. Maybe I'll even live stream from the airport. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, I saw a tweet. Cool, that Gamergaters I have blocked are sharing my out of context screenshotted tweets to each other. Wonder if they're gonna try emailing my workplace again. Now, he's obviously referring to me as I shared a screenshot, which we're gonna get to. Now, I don't consider myself a Gamergater. I was not producing videos during Gamergate. I consider myself a consumer advocate, and that's what I understand Gamergate was really about. But there was so much narrative on both sides. Outside of that, I've never really chosen to go much deeper. I know a lot of things have been said about people who were pro, and all of those things were false, as proven by the FBI. So I suppose I don't have a problem being associated with the group as long as they've never broken the law and they're consumer advocates. But nonetheless, I've never identified as that. And you can see somebody has tagged me in. That's how I found out about it. Oh yeah, I blocked them both a long time ago, dog, because I heard credible reports that they harass game developers. But snitch tag all you want. I don't know. I don't think making a video, I think Mr. Lumpkin is allowed to have his opinion, and so am I. And that's all this is. I'm not endorsing people at the guy. I'm not telling people to go interact with him. I'm not telling people to email his employer. What I will advise people to do is to think twice about how they spend their money once they see that this type of behavior exists. Now, Mr. Lumpkin is no stranger to endorsing heinous messages, messages of supporting violence against people. You can see Mr. Lumpkin replying, Rofel, what trash? Sorry you're dealing with that. And also, you are in the right. And you see, punch your local Gamergater, to be honest. And then you can also see he's in fact replying to, thank you, Kotaku, in action for putting all this stuff together. But he's replying to the initial Joel Wintergreen tweet where he said that you should be punching people. In fact, let's go up to the original tweet, because golly, Kotaku in action, I don't know how they feel about me, but they have helped compile information for me to report on things many times. So I'm always thankful. I'm obviously not doing it for me, but you see him endorsing Joe Wintergreen. Remember to punch anyone sympathetic to Gamergate in the throat. This is another developer, of course, and eventually having to remove that tweet, I believe. But we know that the type of people these guys are. This is Joe Wintergreen of Impromptu Games. We see essentially Steve Lumpkin endorsing that type of behavior. Sorry you're dealing with it. Also, you are right. These are not normal people. Damon Reese getting involved in it as well. He currently works at Route 59 Games, has also endorsed this type of thing. What a pain in the butt. These effing dweebs still hate search, I guess. How weird to build your identity around something you hate most of the creators of. Rofel, what trash. Sorry. Now this is the actual content, and you see people, yeah, imagine advocating for violence on social media, somehow justifying it by saying you are in the right. So perpetuating violence against those people are perfectly fine. And then they take guerrilla in. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a fan of hate mobs. I would rather people speak with their actual dollars. And unfortunately, Horizon Zero Dawn absolutely has some popular, some very strong fans. Now, to bring you up to date, we see Liz Edwards, who also works at Ubisoft, saying Notch has been going on a bizarre, extremely transphobic rant for like 3 days now, and somehow 200 people I know are still following him. And you read through this thread, again, who cares? Who cares? I don't care either. I don't have to necessarily endorse everything that Notch says, but when he says, if you're against the concept of heterosexual Pride Day, you're a complete, well, I wouldn't go necessarily that far, but I think Notch tends to be a little edgy. And the idea that, following somebody you really dislike and having these super long threads of game industry people is pretty pathetic. And I think the reason that they continue to attack Notch is because he will say some crazy things sometimes, like we all do, and he'll also say things that go against the mainstream narrative. And this is, of course, what really infuriates these struggling developers. They look at Notch, a self-made man, a man who marches to the beat of his own drum in many cases, and they write things like this: unfollow Notch 2K19. And then you see, if I disagree, I want to keep them around in order to see what they say. No point in blocking contrasting views. They only hide them from yourself. And that is actually Trups, whoever that is, excellent point, right? But then you see the true way that the ultra-authoritarian people view free speech as something to be cured. People who have ideas that they disagree with are something to be, quote, vaccinated against. You can see Steve Lumpkin goes on to say, that is not effective inoculation against hate. The only effective vaccine is full deplatforming. Again, nothing really hateful about what Notch is saying. It's his opinion. It's within the rules of Twitter as far as I can tell. And, when I was young and I was more proud to call myself liberal, I thought we fought for free speech. Now, somewhere along the line, that became a conservative value, and I don't know when that was, but a lot of people are wondering why are there so many 30-something people that are now voting conservative? Well, somehow the Conservative Party became the party of free speech, and that's an important issue for me. A lot of the ultra far left people with pronouns in their bio will talk like this. Steve Lumpkin, senior designer for Guerrilla Games, works on Horizon Zero Dawn, says that people with opinions that he does not like, in this case Notch, should be inoculated. You go, a place of tolerance. I don't believe in silencing other. And then you see Eleska saying, so you think Nazis, of course, plurals in there, or their pronouns. So you think Nazis' views should be listened to? And yeah, listen to them, point, and laugh. This is a good person. Trups is guaranteed to be blocked soon. But then he goes on to even try and reason with the Lumpelstiltskin here and say, you will only force them under. You will allow the infection to fester and grow if you do not bring the problem forward. Now, I wouldn't necessarily call it an infection, especially when you're talking about just having a differing opinion. But this is how many of the people in the games industry think. For whatever reason, people on the ultra far left seem to congregate in gaming. You have hyper-dense centers like board gaming, where it's almost exclusively ultra-far left, 7 people sharing a one-bedroom apartment ideologues. And like I've always said, obviously, there's nothing wrong with being a liberal. It's the far left that is insane. Many days I would still consider myself liberal. I am probably center left. Some days center right. That's natural. I think it's more natural for people to kind of move around based on what's going on in their world, based on their life experiences. But this is how people like Lumpelstiltskin will view opinions. I mean, he'll say, literally, that's simply false, but I'm muting this thread now. So he's saying that pointing and laughing at bad opinions is, of course, not a solution. You know, the best disinfectant is always sunlight. And if you don't agree with that statement, then you are not confident in your own beliefs and you're afraid. You're afraid of true conversation. You're afraid of losing a debate in the free market of ideas because you yourself have not done the research, nor do you want to do the research. The number one reaction to people who don't want to understand the other side is to mute, block, and shut them down. Okay? I'm not saying I agree with everything Notch says. I'm also not saying I disagree with it. It's a case-by-case basis. But you see a lot of these developers always attacking Notch. And of course, a lot of it comes down to, I hate to minimize things, but jealousy. You're talking about, you know, a very successful developer who doesn't need to follow the same rules. He doesn't need to live in their weirdo cabal of groupthink. And you see like this John character, you know, who apparently hate follows me. You know, one good reason for me to support Guerrilla Games. Notch is a steaming turd, and I'm quite happy to spend my money on anyone who stands against that sort of behavior. So apparently, when you agree, you're allowed to take this guy's opinion as Guerrilla Games. But if you disagree, then he disavows it, and you know his opinions are his own. Now, and you see him obviously reply to this. They think that they've made some sort of win here, and it's just sad. It's sad, close-minded, and I wish Lumpelstiltskin would kind of wake up and realize that he is on the wrong side of history. He is on the, you know, if you're anti-free speech, if you're anti-free market of ideas, if you don't support those types of things, you end up in societies where you're not allowed to speak. Perhaps Mr. Lumpkin would be happier in like North Korea or China or some other countries where you aren't allowed to publicly share your opinion when it's not the government approved one. See, that's the thing. Lumpelstiltskin here, he shares a lot of that, you know, far left politics that you hear from Hollywood. I mean, imagine how low IQ you'd have to be to want to get your hot takes from morons in Hollywood. All right, let's just put it right there. But you know what? I choose to follow people I agree with. I choose to follow people I disagree with. I try to expose myself to all sides if I'm going to enter a conversation. If I don't want to get into it, then that's cool too. But Guerrilla Games, not a good look to have your senior designer out there acting the fool. But I hope you enjoyed this video, everyone, and we'll talk to you again real soon.